All right. Dun, 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 dun. Silicone trees. Silicone trees, silicone trees. This week we're going to talk about silicone trees. What are they? What is the Oregon bubble? Actually, the Oregon bubble is a silicone tree simulation. It is the color that you want to look for in the petrified wood chunks that are actually not from a prehistoric era. Otherwise, I would not be able to obtain these. These would be, you have to have like a special archaeologist crew, cranes and stuff to go maybe hundreds of feet below, maybe thousands of feet below, to find it, just like they presume to find these dinosaur bones that are actually all acrylic plastic castings. If you call a museum and ask, they'll tell you that they don't have any real dinosaur bones. Imagine that. Acrylic cast, plaster cast. Man, unbelievable. It's dastardly. So let's take a look at these silicone tree chunks. What we know is that the Jimi Hendrix returned to a shell of a world that was burned. So like Avatar the movie, they tore the trees down, and you can tell that it didn't come from a prehistoric era. Why? It's because they're already pre-sliced. Look, they came out of the dirt pre-sliced because they were sliced like they were sliced in the petrified forest, which is not plausible. You didn't have a way to slice anything in a prehistoric era. That's why you can tell that these are excavated silicone tree chunks, because they're sliced. Dead giveaway. That is a smoking gun. Now, you see the hexagonal shapes in the bark. It's just almost like regular bark from a tree, except for the inside is glass. You see that? Now, before the shell of a world that was burned, this glass here, imagine how hard these trees were. You'd have to almost like blow these trees up. I mean, I'm gonna try to take a grinder to this and see how easy it is to cut it, but I might do that in another video, and so you guys can see it too. But that'll also reveal some of the colors that were on the outside that have been burned. Clearly these are all darkened because the light and the power sources that were taken from the cores of these trees, like the Grand Canyon, which we also discovered when we went cross country. I'm going to have a video about the Grand Canyon next, so stay tuned. These were illuminated by those power sources that were dug up like the Grand Canyon. These were translucent like glass, and they were hard like glass right now. If you listen to that, that is glass. That is not wood. That is more like a differentiated type of, like almost like a concrete material. So these trees were, look at the doodle. So these trees are extremely hard. Like, fuck, man, you imagine what it must have taken to. So they cut down the funny trees to create thy needs, like the Lorax movie. The Lorax came down and says, "What are you doing? Let them grow." See what I'm saying? So that's what that was about, and that's what this is about. And I have a piece here, nice and colorful, and it's a sad thing what they've done, but I'm gonna cut the inside of them and see how much more color I can find inside, because that's just you know, that's just it. These things were burnt up, and that's why they're black and dark like this. But they were colorful, beautiful, like rainbows, and they were like glass crystalline trees that illuminated from these hardcore power centers that sat inside the earth that were dug up like the Grand Canyon. And the difference between those and the regular trees, the rings here are not really like rings at all. The rings that we know that are in trees are dealing with the illusion of time, because time is supposed to seem true, but the fact that they recreated all this stuff, they had the opportunity to put like an impression like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that in the rings of the trees, to also back the illusion that time is something to be measured, to be thought, calculated, to be presumed as real and true. But time is actually an illusion. It is not 2019. If you believe these came from a dinosaur era, you would be confused, because if these did come from a dinosaur era, then you would be in year 2 trillion, billion, 15, blah, 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 not 2019. See what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. It's all just a bunch of wishy-washy, blah, 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 blah. So if you look at your lava videos, you see that they're time-lapse when you see lava flow. When you see lava in a background of a man with a suit on, you'll see that those are CGI. If you take a real good close look at them, there's a lot of fake ones being exposed. You can just Google them. They're popping up because they are not hiding stuff anymore. And these are easy to get. If you have an excavator or a crane, you can dig in the ground and pull these bad boys out. And these are also good for orgone bubbles. So it's good to have big pieces of it because that's all quartz crystal is, you know. When you really have like a big piece of quartz crystal or anything like that, it's just a silicone tree. Now here's one that's not so burnt. Now take a look at the color. Look at that wonderful, beautiful color there. Isn't it wonderful, amazing blue? So this, it was extremely colorful. If you take a look, that's the hard rock bark. It was similar, and it even has like these large cracks in it, but it's very hard, like rock trees. Like if you were to take crystals and put them in a dish, or salt and grow salt in the dish, salt crystals, and it formed into like these tree-like stalactite type like structures, and then you were to somehow zoom into that world and see people living on it. Now that is the kind of thing that we're presumably kind of living in a small model. And that's the references on Beetlejuice. When you see the smoky guy, it says, I shrunk him down and put him in that model that I made, and he's been causing mischief in there. That's the whole Beetlejuice Smoky God story. So we're like in a crystalline, tiny world that is huge and massive to us, that is small to the beings that would be outside, which would be the angels and everybody else. But the fallen ones, fallen from grace, they are shrunken down inside of this place here. Very interesting. And they've been trapped in here ever since. So this is a small world we're living in. When you get to the center, and if you're coming with us, you'll see how much bigger the places that we're going is compared to every other place you've ever been in your life. So with that being said, this is going to go into the massive orgone bubble challenge. And this is my expose on the silicone trees. I have more to come, and I have more silicone tree pieces to discuss about, and I have a whole lot more things coming with the Exodus, and a whole lot more things coming with the sun-gazing pineal gland explosion. So stay tuned, stay real, don't stay fake, stay awake.